Good afternoon and salam. I am Miriam Afolabi, a member of the MACFEST team. I'm delighted to welcome you to MACFEST 2021. This afternoon, we are thrilled to host our fifth event in celebration of International Women's Day, Women, Politician and Life in Afghanistan. We are delighted to introduce you to our host for this panel, Kesra Sharaz. Let me say a few words about Kesra. Kesra Sharaz is a novelist, scriptwriter, educationalist, and award-winning peace and gender activist. She has won many awards including Lifetime Achievement Award. She is the author of three novels, The Holy Woman, Typhoon and Revolt, two collections of stories and a 14-episode drama serial for Pakistan television. She is the founder, curator and the executive director of Muslim Arts and Culture Festival, which is MACFEST, with its mission to connect communities through the arts. Recently, she was awarded an MBE in the Queen's Birthday Honours for services to gender equality and cultural learning. Before I hand over to Kesra, I would like the audience to please follow MACFEST on our media sites of Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, so you'll be notified of our coming events. Thank you very much, and over to you, Kesra.
Thank you so much, Mariam. And good afternoon and welcome and assalamu alaikum to our attendees and of course to our very special guest. Delighted to welcome these two amazing women and their politicians. Very, very glad to host them. Thank you, ladies. My sister Yasmin sitting in Bolton and sister Fawzia sitting in Doha, but she's actually from Afghanistan, from Kabul. And also all the ladies and my family, all the other regular attendees, welcome again. This is our fifth International Women Week event. We have gone to town this year. You know, MACFEST puts women at the forefront, and I've always hosted many international events throughout over my period of work. And this year, we wanted to package as many events as we could under different topics. And one of those was about women politicians. So later this afternoon, we have a wonderful event with a woman politician from Greece, including from England, and they're going to have a fabulous time talking about it. This morning, I came across this morning, I meant this morning, we're hosting Sister Fawzia, and I came across her name. I read about her, and I did research and thought, wow, Afghanistan, woman, politician, and this is just up my street, the sort of things I'm really interested in, women's rights. So I was very keen to host Sister Fawzia. Then I also wanted a very special guest who represented women, Muslim women, and as a guest MP for MACFEST this week, and I've got Sister Yasmin. So first of all, I'm going to introduce Sister Yasmin Qureshi, our chief guest who's presiding over this event, and she's sitting in Bolton. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Yasmin. You need to unmute yourself.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Okay, so I'm going to introduce Sister Yasmin properly. Okay, so Sister Yasmin has been the MP for Bolton Southeast since 2010. She has been leading campaigns in Parliament on the pregnancy drug Primados, the Uyghur community, particularly currently in China, in Xinjiang, and the representation of religion in the media. From 2017 till 2020, she served as Shadow Justice Minister. Last year, she was appointed as a Shadow International Development Minister and is responsible for overseeing the government's agenda on Asia, the Commonwealth, and gender equality worldwide. This is wonderful, Sister Yasmin. I'm really, really proud of you as a fellow Pakistani Muslim woman and as a good friend. Also, before becoming an MP, Yasmin was a barrister and she has worked for the United Nations mission in Kosovo. You will learn more about her work through our discussion today. But first, I wanted to give Sister Yasmin a few minutes to share her views and thoughts. And also later, I will ask her to talk about what was it like having been affected by the COVID virus herself. So over to you, Sister Yasmin. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon rather.
I was going to say assalamu alaikum and good afternoon to the attendees, the panelists as well. It's great to be here, and thank you, Kasra, for organising this And, can I congratulate on Manchester Fest? I mean, the work that you've been doing for the last number of years, but in particular being able to organize this annually. And it's really important that this is being done in the week, of the International Women's Recognized Day. And in fact, one of the things I've done as a shadow minister with responsibility, one of the thematic responsibility I have is gender empowerment issues, sexual reproductive health of women, etc. Is that we've been working on this for some time, but the Labour Party we have launched a consultation across the country with not just Labour Party members, but NGOs and organisations, where we want to discuss the issue of the fact that feminist development should be at heart of our foreign policy and other countries as well. Countries like Sweden and Mexico already are doing it. Many others have joined. And our aim is that the United Kingdom should formally also kind of sign up to it. So that's going to be a really exciting piece of work, I think, that we're going to be doing over the next few months when we're going to be meeting people across because all very well, we may have some ideas how to do things, but you need to engage other people to find out where they think the challenges might be, what ways are, what's the way forward. So I just thought I'd briefly mention that because it's very relevant to women, a very relevant women issue, and that's an initiative that we've started. So I just wanted to check that. On the other thing, I mean, quite a lot of about me is written on the internet. Most of it is accurate, not all of it is accurate, but most of it is accurate. And as you've said, I've been working on the Uyghur camp. I'm the chair. I set up an all parties parliamentary group on the Uyghurs, on Primordials. I'm also and religion in the media. We've just done an inquiry into it, and that was really fascinating, and our inquiry's result is being published in the next month or so, and we'll be launching that. And it's talk about how religion is covered by all by the media, not just any specific religion, all religions. And then of course I've been doing quite a lot of work on the Rohingya issue in Burma, which is the refugee issue as well. And then of course on top of that I've done the other issues, like I've talked a lot about Palestine and Kashmir. And of course, that's international issues. Domestic issues are things like the Primrose campaign. And also just recently, I've been doing a lot of work in relation to COVID and its impact on families and women. And so I've been arguing for, more help, resources to small businesses, to families, more help in education, all these kind of things, challenges that have affected a lot of my constituents. So
Okay.
really, I mean, as an MP, that's sort of, apart from those things, been taking part in debate, speaking, raising issues of concern to my constituent, and of course, the country at large.
Earlier, before we started the panel, we were talking about you having got the virus yourself. Would you like to share something, what the experience was like? It's good for our attendees to know and what happened. And you were talking about the impact. Okay.
Yeah. So essentially, I got the usual well-known, recognized signs of COVID, which is high temperatures and achy body, and then I started coughing, and the coughing started to get really, really bad. And I did the traditional way, because I run away from medication as much as possible. So I did the what we call the desi, the traditional kind of remedies, like hot water with cinnamon and green cardamom and fennel seeds and all these kind of things. Loads of hot drinks. Ate kind of quite strong protein kind of food, to give myself energy. But it just wouldn't go away. The temperatures are getting high, my oxygen levels are getting lower. And so I had a paramedic call out once. I was given some medication. It didn't help. Then I was taken to hospital, where I was given a number of antibiotics, viral as well as bacterial ones, steroids, a whole lot of stuff. And then when I came back from the hospital, my coughing had gone better. My oxygen levels were getting normal. And then it was just very tired and achy and, just felt really, really tired. You felt like your bones were like aching, not just your body, but your veins.
Really?
So, you know, my way of dealing with it was to actually just eat loads of food to give myself energy. So I almost force-fed myself to eat. And then I started walking and, you know, started doing things around the house and started walking outside. And alhamdulillah, I'm completely recovered. And I have been now for months. And, you know, as I said earlier, I now regularly do at least 7 kilometers of walk, if not sometimes 9, you know, so I'm fine. I'm
Thank you
completely.
so much for sharing that. And I'm so glad that you fully recovered from it. And you did mention you also had the vaccination as well.
Yes, in fact, I'm glad you mentioned because I really want to talk about this.
Yes.
Yeah, I've had my first vaccination, which was the AstraZeneca one. I do want to take an opportunity here to dispel some myths. So when first the vaccines came out, the Pfizer vaccine, there was a lot of people saying, oh, it's got gelatin in it and shouldn't have it. Even though the scholars then got together and did a fatwa saying, actually, because it's to save health and life, you can have it. But can I just say that actually, after much actual proper inquiry, Pfizer does not have gelatin. It is completely vegetarian. So even though, because there are still some people who didn't agree with the fatwa, they said, oh, it's only for when you're almost dying, as opposed to just being ill. So please, you know, so if you're offered it, Pfizer, do take it. Secondly, there's been a lot of conspiracies out there about all these vaccinations. They're going to alter your gene,
DNA.
or they're going to lead to infertility and all that kind of stuff, right? It's all stuff, nonsense, right? Okay, vaccine isn't 100% effective. So the fact that you have a vaccine does not mean that you're not going to get COVID. But chances are that you won't, or if you do, the effects of it will be a lot less, i.e., be, you know, smaller, the feeling of it, right? And therefore, hopefully, it would avoid fatalities and really more serious illness. And the one thing I don't understand about this vaccine, why everybody's getting so excited about it, is vaccines have been used for years. You've got the polio vaccine, which eradicated polio. You have vaccines for measles, for smallpox, you know, meningitis. When we go to Saudi Arabia, we all have to have meningitis
Yes, that's right.
vaccine, right?
Thank
So,
you.
what's the big deal about the COVID? I don't understand it. So I'm just hoping that I know I'm sure the people on this panel probably are all enlightened. And but if you do have people that you deal with or some people who are reluctant, please tell them.
Okay, I will. Thank you so much, Yasmin, for sharing your views on that. And we really need to hear them, absolutely, especially for people like yourself who've been through it and hopefully can share that really that isn't the case. These are some of the myths. Okay, I'm delighted now to introduce Sister Fawzia, mashallah. And I've taken the information from the internet. I was still waiting for a bio. She can add more information about herself, obviously, during the discussion. So this is what I've got from the internet. Sophosia Kufi is a daughter of a rural village leader in northeastern Batakan Shan province. Have I said it right? I'm sorry if the pronunciation isn't good. She has actively worked for women's rights since the Taliban were in power, including maintaining schools for girls in her own home in the capital city of Kabul. Kufi was the first female deputy speaker of the Afghan Parliament and worked for the inclusion of a gender budget in Afghanistan's financial budget. She was also the country's first female leader of a political party. As head of the Women and Human Affairs Committee during her second term in Parliament, she played an active role in the enactment of protective laws for women and children, particularly the law on the elimination of violence against women and the law on the protection of children in Afghanistan. Last year, Kufi was dropped from the list of parliamentary candidates. She has survived 2 armed attacks over the years. And also last year, I was delighted to pick this up. She was nominated, would you believe, mashallah, for the Nobel Peace Prize. Many congratulations on this, Sister Fawzia. What an achievement, and it's a true testament to your work in Afghanistan in very difficult circumstances. So, ladies, I'm going to now begin our discussion. I think Sister Yasmin already has shared some of it, so I'll focus on Fawzia for quite some time if possible. So the first thing I would do want to ask both of you, About your life in politics, how did it start? Where did you get the ideas from? What inspired you? So I'll start with you, Fawzia, if you don't mind. Politics, you, Afghanistan, what is it all about?
Thank you so much for organizing this, and thank you also for having me in this. My greetings also to the co-panelist, Ms. Yasmin Qureshi, and to all the audience. About politics, I think, like many other, politicians, or most politicians from Asia, who have somehow politics in their genes, I have it also. My father was a member of parliament, elected 4 terms in parliament. He was killed when he was on a peace mission, like I am now. He was killed when he wanted to talk to the rebel groups then, which were called the Mujahideen, in the beginning of revolution. I was only a child, 3 years old. So my life, each chapter of my life is basically related to a chapter of political change in Afghanistan, starting from the Soviet occupation, then to the civil war, and to the Taliban time, and to post-2001. What personally motivated me, I think, was the fact that any woman in Afghanistan, or in our part of the world, or globally in a bigger picture, experience in different ways discrimination, experience injustice for their gender. And this is a global phenomenon. Now, the extent probably is different from one country to the other, or from one nation to the other, or from one particular culture to the other. But women are victim of injustice and discrimination as a global phenomenon. So I have experienced this more from childhood, being born in a country that is already very traditional. And my family also was a traditional family. I have experienced it when I was born, and gradually I actually lived with it. However, it was during the Taliban that I saw how women were treated around me, how women, basic human rights, including the rights to access education, something that is the fundamental principle of Islam. When our Prophet was sent, peace be upon him, the first verse that came to our Prophet was Iqra, means read. But unfortunately, some of these, Muslim military extremist groups, under the name of the same religion, deprive women from going to school and being able to read and write. So therefore, not only women were deprived from their basic rights, but also from the rights to participate politically, socially, or be regarded as an equal citizen right holder. That gave me more reasons to change things. That gave me more strength, because I also personally went through this when I was, when they put my husband in jail, when I went to see him, when I went out in the market, or in the local, because this was the only place we could go as women. There was no school, no work, no office. So the only place we could go out of our home was either to see a doctor or to go to the market. And I could see how, we were kind of distracted and distanced from our social values in Afghanistan by oppressing women, by whipping women on the streets, by beating up women, by physical abuse. And so that already generated a potential idea inside myself to change things, because it's not families only that they try to oppose. Some families, they try to oppose an oppressed woman, but also the society and the governments. I believe social issues are something that it's a society that has to deal with it, not a government. So for a government to ask women to wear a certain level of clothes or don't wear a certain outlook, I don't think this is actually the policy. This should be a policy of government. So I oppose those government who ask women to wear a hijab, and those government who ask women not to wear a hijab or whatever clothes they want to. And therefore, after the fall of Taliban in 2001, I started already I was working with United Nations then, Then I moved slowly to social work, and I was working with, in addition to back to school campaign for girls after the fall of Taliban. Then I engaged with other policy level issues. And then in 2005, I ran for parliament. And I was elected. We have a quota of 25% in our constitution. We have a reserved seat, a positive discrimination or affirmative action, but I was elected not based on the quota, based on the general seat. But for me, the task did not finish when I was elected to the office. And I think it should not finish for any woman. The aim is not to get elected to the office. The aim is to use that power and that means to change your surroundings. So, and to change what you believe that should be changed. So I started, running for, as you rightly said, and thank you for that introduction. And my apologies, I was not able to. We're so stuck in the negotiation in Doha with the Taliban, so I was not able to actually send you the bio, and I'm also away from my office in Kabul. Anyways, so I then ran for vice president or deputy speaker of parliament. This is the first time a woman can run for such a high level position. Everybody was telling me, okay, it's good you ran, you raise your voice, but you will not be elected because these big leaders are running. Some others will tell me that don't run because you will not be elected. But I decided, because I said, what do I pay? If I get elected, I demonstrate the power of women and the decisiveness when they decide to do something. If I don't win, then that's okay. We have to really experience failure back to back in order to learn how to succeed. So then I ran and I was elected for the first time as the deputy speaker. I ran against some of these kind of quote big leaders. Then I started working on laws that will protect women's rights. And that was the time that a lot of people start feeling uncomfortable because they were in their comfort zones, no? The moment you start trying to minimize the comfort zone for some of these traditional views, including men, then they start being uncomfortable. And I have started to, along with my other sisters, of course, in the parliament, we started to raise issues that were regarded as normal for women's life. They were part of women's normal life: violence, physical abuse, oppressing women to stay home, many other things that were also done, unfortunately, under the name of Islam, which is so wrong. It has got links into the society and wrong aspect of tradition, not into our religion. So then we, had the law on violence against women for the first time, and we have categorized violence against women there. We had the law on harassment or anti-harassment for women and children, or against women and children. And then we started kind of entering the no-entry zones, like Women, Peace and Security Council Resolution 1325. Not only Security Council resolution, but if you look at our Prophet's wives, they were engaged actually in so many battles. If not active in the battle, they were there. So peace and security is not just about men, but it's about the citizens. And therefore, we promoted women engagement in peace and security, because in the talks with the Taliban that is ongoing now, it is one of the things that is about women and women in Afghanistan. Because if you look at the peace negotiations around the world, this is the only negotiation where the other side actually opposed women participation. So then we promoted women participation in the negotiation table. And right now we have 4 women out of 21 women in the negotiation. These are some of the things that were not regarded as part of women's life. Initially, when we started campaign, even among some of our elite intellectual male politicians, to include women in the negotiation or in the peace process, they were kind of not sure if this is a job that a woman should take or should do it. And the response we got is that there is no major decision being made on this. Once we make the important decision, we will then inform you. And our response was not, no, engage and enroll us in the decision, don't decide on our behalf. So I think there is, to conclude, there is a lot of misperception about what is it in Islam and what is it that Muslim woman wants. Unfortunately, in order to discredit our struggle, usually they try to say that there is no feminist in Islam, there is no feminism in Islam. And they try to also say that all of these women who are feminists, they try to follow the Western kind of ideas, which I think we have to really correct this misperception. But also, if you go to the West, for instance, there is this understanding that Muslim women are not progressive. They do not contribute to their society. If you come to the east part of the world, their perception is that women in the West are not committed, not committed to social or cultural values. They're so open, they're too progressive. So we are kind of in the midst of these predefined perceptions, and we have to really correct them. I have started this, and I would like to tell the world that we want Islamic rights of women, and within those values, there are many things that already could give a lot of liberties to the woman. The fact that these men are interpreting Islam for us, and there is no or not much woman fiqh or jurisprudence that interpret these things for us, it's not the fault of religion. We can still be religious or a Muslim, but still be a feminist. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sister Fawzia. You've covered a lot and really insightful, illuminating about so many different issues you've mentioned. So I want to go to give you a little break for a minute or two. Sister Yasmin, what about you? What compelled you to enter politics? I know you are one of the first Muslim women MP to come on the scene. What have been some of the challenges? What started you off? And what's been the high point as well? That's a question I want to ask later as well. So 2 or 3 minutes, if you don't mind. We can't hear you, Sister Yasmin.
No, first, it was great to hear what Fawzia's experiences were and explaining situation. And I agree with her. It's a shame that some people are using religion as an excuse to exclude women and justification for what they do, when we know that is not Islam. And there are so many stories about famous Muslim women, including Hazrat Aisha, Hazrat Fatima alayhi salam, and the contribution they made and everything. So I entirely agree with that. And I know that challenges that Fawzia will have probably will not be the same, perhaps, as I've had. So mine was very simple. I joined the Labour Party when I was about 15, because we had 2 Labour councillors come to us. Just 15 joined the Labour Party. We had 2 Labour councillors who came to our school to, like at the civic society classes where they talk about what being politics involved. And I was quite interested to know what they were doing. So I went campaigning with them on a few occasions. I learned more about the Labour Party, what it stands for. And I became active in the party. But I didn't think about becoming a parliamentarian until much, much later, because I qualified as a barrister, I practiced as a lawyer, worked as a UN, as you've been mentioning. But some years ago, before I obviously became a parliament, so about 5-7 years before then, I decided that I was already doing a lot of voluntary work on human rights and, on minority issues and, taking up causes. So I thought to myself, is there a platform I can use to kind of take my views at an upper level, where maybe people who can listen to me? And as a member of parliament, for me, it's a position to occupy where you can speak about things that you are concerned about. That although I say, I'm concerned, but I know other thousands and hundreds of thousands of people are concerned about it, injustices, inequalities, unfairnesses. So that's what really motivated me then to get into parliament. I mean, it was a bit of a journey. It was a hard slog. I was very lucky, a bit like I suppose Fawzia, that my family completely supportive. Were very happy with me doing what I wanted to do. Were always there for me morally, socially, financially, whatever, everywhere they've been.
That's really good to know. Yes, support from your family is very, very important.
Everyone.
Thank you so much.
Really, yeah. So I have strong, there's issues I've been campaigning on, and I feel strongly about wanting a better and equal life for everyone. So I thought, everybody can make their contribution in different ways. I'm not saying for one minute being a member of parliament or being a politician is the only way, but it's one way that I felt that I could use as a platform to fight for things that I believed in.
Okay, Sister Fawzia, what about yourself? Support from your family, from friends, people around you? What was that like? Did you benefit from that, or did you face more challenges?
Well, anything you are the beginner, there are, of course, challenges. When you want to open the path, you have to be able to face the walls. And for me also, because it was not common for a woman of the family to be in politics. In fact, I was the first girl to go to school. And although my father established the first school in our village for girls, but he did not allow his own daughters because the society will say things that he was not happy about it. The community will say things. So listening to everybody around him, he decided not to send his own girls. I was not born then. But when, I was school age, I went to school. And that helped me because I think education is the key for women empowerment or the societal empowerment. So then when I wanted to run for parliament, there was also one male member of our family as well. And we kind of had our internal elections. And a lot of people, including my sisters, actually voted for me because they said, well, there is a quota reserve seat. Even if she gets less votes comparing to the male, she will still have a chance. So they were very rational in their justification. And they voted for me. And then the family decided that I should run. When I ran and was doing campaign, it was not anything common for my family, especially male, because my sisters were campaigning with me to support me. But my brothers, whenever they saw my posters or somewhere, or somebody's holding my campaign posters, they will just take it out and tear it because it was not common for them to see their sister poster everywhere and people look at her. I was very young, of course, then it was like 15 years back. But the challenge for me was when I came to parliament, and a lot of people actually voted for me because I was the daughter of my father. But when I then came to parliament, the challenge for me was to create my own identity so that people do not, yes, I am proud of my family's identity, but people call me as myself and my brothers as my brothers or my sisters. So that was my challenge, basically. And then I had 5 years of challenging time to prove that I am able to have my own identity by delivering services, by standing for people's right, by speaking what they want. And these were not easy things. These were not easy steps. When you stand against the whole system and establishment to deliver what your people want, then you have to really pay the price. So the easy target for women is, if they are against women, is that the people start, or the establishment, the institution, start targeting your clothing, your appearance, your relationships. Initially, I was not used to this. When people were talking about my clothes, I was not used to this. When people were, defining my relationships as a woman, I was not used to this. So these were character assassinations, and it was so difficult for me to digest. And I think it's very difficult for any woman to digest those kind of accusations. But the important thing for me was to stay focused and steady and do not shake with these winds. And I think at the end of the 5 years first parliamentary term, I was able to create an atmosphere where my brothers were called the brothers of Miss Koofi. And that was a change. But when I ran for the second time in parliament, I got top votes of women across Afghanistan. I was number 10 in the list. And this was, yes, probably the family legacy, etc. But people voted for me and for my identity. So it's important, even if you have the family support, the society support, you need to create your own identity and do not rely on the shoulders of others. Create your own, demonstrate your own ability so that people, because the family will not last forever. I did not have the family support initially. Eventually, they supported me because there was no way for them not to support me if the whole country was supporting me. But then it was a challenging, enormously sometimes painful time for me to convince and demonstrate my ability and gain that level of support.
Thank you, Sister Fawzia. One of the things we're celebrating this week is strong women. And mashallah, what comes across is you are a very strong woman. You've been attacked twice, and that must be a terrible thing to go through. And then you rise up again. What has that experience been like for you? Always afraid of being attacked.
True. I would like to also give my solidarity with those women and men also in Afghanistan and across the world who are being the target of all these targeted killing. But in my country, more recently, you know that there has been a raise on targeted killing against women activists, civil society activists, and we have lost some of our prominent people who could be an asset for the future of our country, Afghanistan. Yes, I was attacked once in 2010, which Taliban took responsibility for that. And then I was attacked in 2020, 14th of August, and then I was injured. I was shot in my right arm, and there was a bone fracture, and I still cannot use my hand properly because it's still there is the fracture bone takes some times. The wound is recovered, but still, I mean, when from time to time there is pain. I was lucky because only the first bullet got to my hand and we managed to escape. My younger daughter was with me in the same car, and I was lucky that she survived and she was not injured. But that's how the life is in Afghanistan. And that's why I think this peace process is so important. We need to really negotiate and we need to agree that we can also disagree sometimes. That's why I got engaged, and it was almost 20 days or less than a month after my attack that I came to this peace talks, and I was on the negotiation table with the Taliban, which of course they did not take responsibility for the attack. But I mean, even if it was not Taliban, the fact that they have engaged our institutions in war so long that not many people, that our government is not able to protect its citizens, they have to be blamed for that. That's how life is. But I think now it is very important that we have to listen to the victims of war. Most of us in the negotiation table are victims of war. I have lost my father in the war, my brothers in the war, my part of body almost in the war. So it's important that the victims are included in any peace negotiation.
Okay, thank you. We have 2 or 3 questions as well we like to take from our audience. One of them is about sisterhood. She says to Fawzia, how is your sisterhood with other women campaigners and politicians expressed? So working with other women, how is it expressed? And in a way, to be honest, you've already answered it, but if you want to say a couple of words.
No, sisterhood is extremely important because there is an invisible power in unity. If we really unite, we can change. It is, at the end of the day, the war, the struggle to change women and human rights situation for a positive impact is a very lonely war, I would say. It's a very lonely struggle. Sometimes you will even not have your family support you, but it's important that we have solidarity. So in the peace process, especially when we see that some of the women's rights issue might be at risk, we have more solidarity and sisterhood with my friends. I think women of Afghanistan have played an important role, extremely important role over the past few years to raise awareness about what they want and express solidarity. So yes, we do. And I hope that will expand, not only get limited to Afghanistan, but with all of you.
Okay, thank you. We have another question, and this one is from Darren from Indonesia, mashallah. He's joining us from there. He says, this question is to you. How can you handle and bring to others about Afghanistan's women and child problem? And in a way, I guess you're doing that all the time, but if you'd like to answer that for him, please.
I didn't get the question. If you could kindly...
Yeah, he says, how can you handle and bring to others about Afghanistan's women and child problem, the problem with children, problem with women's issues? How are you handling it? How are you bringing it to people's attention?
I think there are many ways. Nowadays, the media play an important role. The social media, the media has been fourth important pillar or power of the government and society in Afghanistan. If my words were not heard in the parliament, I could immediately go to a media TV station to express myself. So the media play an important role. Also, international solidarity. We are reaching out to our partners, including Indonesia. Actually, their deputy president or vice president was in Afghanistan in January. He was also part of the Aceh negotiation with the province of Aceh. We met him and other women also with him So we need to really find partners globally. In the parliament, we need to make laws. So there is a whole range of things one has to do. But nowadays, I think social awareness is very important, and media play an important role in social awareness.
Absolutely. So, Sister Fawzia, I've got another question. This one is from Adele. She's in fact a panelist, and she will be doing her own panel in 2 weeks' time. She's sitting in Germany, and this is about women representative, but I'll read it to you carefully. Could you tell us more about affirmative action to have certain increased number of women in Afghan Parliament as provincial representatives? So it's about number of women in provincial representatives. Shall I read it again, or you're okay with it?
I got the question. Thank you. We have, according to our constitution, affirmative action or quota for women, 25% women representation in the National Assembly and also in the provincial and district assemblies as well. This is one of the things that I think will be at risk moving forward in negotiation with Taliban, because they do not believe in positive discrimination or affirmative action. I'm in favor of affirmative action, especially in those countries that are out of war and conflict, or there is social injustice and access to resources, or equal access to resources and facilities for both gender is not there. If there was no affirmative action, I think we had only 7 women in the parliament. Right now we have 69 women in the parliament because of the quota. I think we need to have the quota or the affirmative action as a base for women political participation, because we believe that women political participation will empower women in other fields, in other spheres of life. So that is important we have, but it should not continue, because that tokenistic participation will also create an atmosphere where women will feel relaxed and convinced and not struggle for what they want. But until sometimes where there is equal access to everything women need, then we don't need a quota, but affirmative action is needed in societies like ourselves.
Okay, thank you. I've got a question there. I was looking at some of your Twitter feeds, and one of them was about raising the voice of women. And this is what you said. With the voice of men and women, with the voice of children, we yell, we want peace. A song performed by young girls at the Movement of Change 2 gathering. Our girls will continue to raise voice, including through song government officials. The government officials must set priorities to work towards discrimination-free Afghanistan. I loved it. Just share a little bit about the context of that, please. It's made you smile, I can see.
No, I'm glad that you actually went through my Twitter. Lately, the Ministry of Education actually issued a decree that they bound girls above 12 years old to participate in songs, especially it's like if it's national anthem, songs related to gatherings, etc. But then I tweeted a song that was played by the girls, as you can see below. It was played at one of the gatherings organized by our political party called Movement of Change. And in their songs, they say, we, with the voice of men, with the voice of children, we yell for peace. This was a response to those who bound women to sing. And then I said women should continue to raise their voice with whatever means they have, including through songs. Why should we actually? Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. I want to give you a little break as you've been talking a lot. So I'm going to come to Sister Yasmin. Yasmin, you're doing very, very important work, particularly with the Uyghur community and on an international platform. Tell us where we're up to and what should be done more from your point of view. I'm just using one example. Obviously, you can see what's been happening with the Rohingya people.
Yeah. So I think at the moment, the Uyghur situation perhaps is the most dire, along with the Rohingya people as well. And as I said, so some years ago, I set up the All Parties Parliamentary Group, and that has all MPs across the political divide. So we have a number of these groups in Parliament. Some are very active, some are very quiet. And they're called all parties parliamentary groups. So you'll have some from the Tory party, Liberal Democrats, SNP, Labour, etc. It's a cross-party group of MPs. And we'll be working very hard. I mean, one of the things we're trying to do is, firstly, our government to raise the issue about what China is doing at the United Nations level. Secondly, we are saying that we should be doing more trade sanctions against the Chinese traders. And in particular, we should be stopping our British companies from trading with Chinese company, where you can see that the chain shows that slave labor has been used. Especially, for example, there's been evidence coming out that a lot of Uyghurs have been transported to other parts of China, essentially in enslaved camps to work. And there's a lot of suggestion that certainly some parts of China, especially from the Xinjiang region, the cotton aspect of it, that there is a lot of slave labor that's been involved in that. And so we are pressurizing our government to take actions against British companies that are involved in this, and also with the Chinese. And then recently, there was a trade bill going through Parliament where we were trying to get genocide amendment put into the bill. So, for example, any future British government doing any future trades with any countries, if there is suggestions that country has been committing genocide, we then we're able to take that countries to our domestic courts, i.e. in the UK. The government resisted that, they wouldn't agree to it. And then in the end, they played, because the government controls the agenda and everything, the parliamentary time, they were able to, in fact, now they pulled a trick last time that we couldn't even vote on this issue. We tried to vote on it 2 occasions, now they pulled out, but the battle is still continuing. So that's something we're trying to do. Put, human rights at the center of trade negotiation. Because let's face it, a country like China, the only way to kind of help the people of the Uyghur is to deal with the financial aspect of it, because that's the only thing that will make China possibly listen. And of course, raising it internationally, they don't like it. So, for example, last week, there was a tweet that a British, I think the ambassador to China, one of the British diplomats, talked about press freedom in China, and he was, and the British ambassador to China was holed up in front of the Chinese ministry, and then there was a debate in Parliament last week, which was about India and the farmers' protest and minority rights. And as a result, the British ambassador in India was held up by the Indian government. So, when people say publicly talking about issues, what effect it does, the governments don't like it. So they do get bothered about it.
Yes,
and
they
the
do.
next thing is the way to affect them is so publicly raising the issue in every platform you can. But at the same time, I think trade is the best way, to try to kind of get countries to negotiate and discuss human rights concerns. That's the kind of thing we've been doing. I just want to talk about the Uyghur thing because
Absolutely.
that's
Thank
a
you so
unique
much.
one that we're doing.
I really applaud your work, and it's very, very important work, and I'm just delighted that you're part of it. And now I want to come back to Sister Fawzia. I'm a writer myself, so obviously when I checked you out, mashallah, you've got a book out as well, a couple of books, in fact. I want to sort of explore that a little bit. It started off what they call Letters to My Father, right? That was a memoir, and I gather it's now become a book called Favored Daughter, One Woman's Fight to Lead Afghanistan. Tell us about that. About 2 books, is it? Is it 1 book? What's the background? When did you write it? What's the process? I've read it and I find it riveting. I read the blurb, I've not read it yet, not had a chance to get hold of it yet. But I was delighted. And I think a woman like you doing the kind of work you are doing, it's great that you're recording it. Okay, over to you.
Yes. No, thank you. I hope you will have the chance and the time to read it. It's called, it's a memoir. It's called Letters to My Daughters. Basically, it's my life story, starting from a letter to my both daughters in a day that I was traveling to one of the provinces, and I was told by our security forces that the plane you're traveling will be targeted by grenade or by these machine guns, so don't travel. But because already I informed people and we were doing a project there, a humanitarian project, it was important for me to travel. So I decided to travel, but I left a farewell letter to my daughters. And then later on, I built up on that, and it's now letters to my daughters. I wrote it 9 years back almost. And it's the same book published in the United States under the name of The Favorite Daughter, because there were some issues with the same author, with another author doing the same name. So it's the same book. Yeah, I'm glad that I have received thousands of emails and messages from across the world, from not only my own daughters, but other girls telling me how inspired they were. And it's important in our work as politicians or leaders, wherever we are, if we are leading an organization or if we are working somewhere, we are leaders in our areas. It's important that we inspire the younger generation, inspire the world. It's important that we give them positive energy and hope that they can also do it, that the challenges are not strong enough to be stronger than their dedication and determination.
So what sort of things do you write about there? You write about your, in those letters in the book, if you want to shed some light.
It's a memoir, and it started with a farewell letter. In that letter, I have advised my daughters what to do when I'm not there. And I have also advised them to pursue their education, because I said, you know, with education, you can explore the world. And if I was not educated, I would have not probably been the same person that I am now. And I would have not been the same where I am. And I know many other girls who have really invested in their education, and they have changed at least their surroundings. So it is about my life. As I said in the beginning, each chapter of my life starts with a political chapter in Afghanistan. So my life is basically linked with what is going on in Afghanistan and up to, you know, now. Well, of course, a second book is also on the way. My experience of the negotiations, although they're not you know, finished yet, but I hope we will finish with a result that will bring peace and security and stability and justice to Afghanistan. So this book is basically about my life, my struggle, and how each time I faced a struggle, each time I faced a rock in this big mountain, I was able to remove that rock. Probably it's a success story, although I don't know how we define success, because I know a lot of these women who managed to be in public offices or change something, they're called successful women. But if you go deep down into their life, you see that they have gone through enormous challenges, and their life is like another book if you really read it. But we are still called successful women.
You are.
Probably my case is a success, but there are a lot of women I know, they have not made it. So I have tried to raise their voice as well through this book.
Excellent. Wow, wonderful. I love the analogy of removing the rocks. So I want to just ask one more question to you. What are you currently doing now? What situation you're at in your political career? You're actually part of the negotiating team. So what's happening? What's the future for you? And Yasmin, I'll come back to you as well for that.
Important thing is that Afghanistan is right now suffering from over 4 decades of war, active war, unfortunately. It has been a battlefield for many superpowers. And not only the fact that I have been through so many things in my personal life due to war. I have lost my father, brothers. We had to flee our house so many times to come to new places because of the war. Not because of that, but because of the fact that I see not only lives are lost in Afghanistan, lives are being taken every day. Young people, I know them, I have worked with them personally. We share so many things together, but also the opportunities that are being taken from my people. So I see there is no way out than a peaceful Afghanistan, and therefore then I got engaged into the negotiation with Taliban. It's an extremely challenging process because we are basically talking with a group of people who have a totally different view about religious issues. So we are not talking about political Islam, but we are talking about a religious government that they think should come to Afghanistan. So it's not only that they are not only a military like extremist group, but also fundamentally we have huge differences in our views. And to sit across the table with them, with a group that only 20 years back, they would not recognize women as equal rights holder citizens, is another challenge, level of challenge.
Okay.
But we need to be there where we are not allowed to. They are regarded as red zones for us. We need to enter the no entry zones. It is not easy. It has never been easy for me and for all of us, I guess. But we hope that my only passion is that we bring peace to Afghanistan and we set examples for the rest of our nation and the women who listen to us and the men also who are disappointed that they will not make it. We need to set examples that, yes, it will require a little bit extra efforts, a little bit extra hard work, but we will make it. Because sometimes when these negotiations happen, they usually happen in the evening. They start from like 6, 7, and they will continue till late in the evening. And then I'm done with the negotiation. I want to talk with my daughters who are back home. And there is a time difference that I cannot even talk to them on the phone. They're asleep when I finish the negotiation.
I wanted to ask about that, the impact this has on your daughters, having a mom who's really busy traveling out there. Are they all happy with you, or did you have no choice?
Well, I think we all have this experience, Kaitra. I mean, we have to literally sacrifice one thing to the other. As a child, as children who want to see their mother welcome them when they come from university or school, when they want their mother to prepare, or parents to prepare food for them, when they want their mother to be with them when they sleep, when they wake up, and I'm
Absolutely.
not there when they need me. And I'm a single parent as well. My husband passed away 16 years back when he was released from Taliban prison. So I'm basically playing the role of mother and father. Of course, it's not easy for them, but I'm lucky because I think they're my product. They're also very resilient, and I think I just talked to them before coming to your program, and that's why it took me a little bit. I got a little bit late to your program. They were telling me, and I told them that these are important time for these negotiations. We have to be here. I haven't been home for 3 months now. And they were like, don't worry, Mom. Security is not also good in Afghanistan. So if you're required to be there and stay there, don't worry about that. They are understanding kids, and I'm proud of them. They also grow up with very strong values. I think our children are our products, at the end of the day.
Absolutely. I'm so glad I asked you that question. I've got one for Sister Yasmin. Yasmin, this is from Adele, and it relates to the Uyghur community. So this is what Adele has mentioned. She said, Yasmin, will the government not vote on the issue because of the word genocide, or because they're not convinced of the news coming out, or because they fear economic sanctions? Thank you for talking more about this. And are you able to have direct contact, or are Uyghur outside informing you? She's very keen to know more about this. I think some of you answered, but it'd be good to expand on that if you can, please, Yasmin.
So basically, the government doesn't want the genocide amendment in because they don't want any country that they're going to be future trading with to be taken to the courts and have them being examined for genocide, because you'll find that it probably won't be just China. There may be other countries which could also be taken. And the government is just looking at it from the economics. They're looking at it from money perspective. They don't want businesses and trade deals to be stopped because of this, which is why they are objecting to the genocide amendment being put in. It's not because they don't believe them. They do accept that what's happening in China is wrong. And the Foreign Secretary has been making a number of comments about that. So that's the reason why they won't support genocide amendment. And because they have a majority of 80 MPs, they're more likely to get away with it. I mean, so the amendment probably won't happen. It's coming back in a very watered form back again in the next few weeks, but we don't think it's going to get through, sadly. As for what's happening in Xinjiang, well, we had information from the BBC who were operating there, but now they've stopped. We speak to Uyghur people who are not in there, but who are in the UK or in the World Uyghur Congress, for example, and other people like that are giving us the information. as to
Okay.
what's going on. And in fact, in the next few weeks, Amnesty International are going to be producing 2 reports, in fact, on this as well. But it should be quite interesting. They're coming up, I think, in May time. So that would be another opportunity for us to push governments and the UN and others, because the USA is saying some right words at the moment. Mr. President Biden is saying some right words. We're hoping that we can jump on that and encourage our government to do the same.
I hope, inshallah, I hope something's sorted. It's a very bad time for the Uyghur community, absolutely. So we have gone over a little bit of time, but we started a bit late. I want to end with a last sort of question to both of you, really, on a very, very positive note. Are you a successful politician, successful women? What's been the highlight of your political career? So, Yasmin, if you don't mind, first, what's the best moment that you think, wow, this is the right role? Because to be honest, there's a lot of stress, there's a lot of hurdles in your path, lots of challenges, but I'm sure there are highlights that make you keep going.
As an MP, and I know Fawzia will understand this as well, another politician, there's so many different things that one does, right? You take part in debates, you take up issues of constituents, there's loads of things that you're doing, and sometimes you never see the result of it, right? The end product. Sometimes you do. And so for me, highlight was, I think, last year, when Primodos, in your introduction, you talked about it. It was a drug given to pregnant women in the 50s, 60s to see if they were pregnant. We say it caused deformities in many babies, also led to many women having miscarriages, etc. Now, up until, and I became aware of this about 11 years ago when one of my constituents, 9 years ago, when one of my constituents contacted me about this. And I began to look at it, and I raised it in Parliament, in Prime Minister's questions. We were writing letters to ministers. We had quite a few debates in Parliament. There were 2 sets of inquiries carried out. We were very unhappy with them. Then we got the 3rd inquiry, which was an independent one, independent of the government, independent of the Ministry of Health, independent of any bureaucrats, right? Completely outsiders, and it's called the Baroness Compel review. She was a Conservative member of the House of Lords and was a Conservative minister as well. But in this one, she was the chair of this review, and she did on Primodos and 2 other things. Now, the thing with the Primodos drug was that nobody was accepting liabilities, but also they were not accepting that there was a cover-up, which is one of the things we were saying, that there was a cover-up by the medical establishment, by everybody involved in the system in the 70s and the 60s, and nobody's willing to accept that. Well, Baroness Cumberland came up with her review last year in July, and she said that we were right, that there had been a cover-up, that there had been a negligence of the government, and she said that these people should be compensated. To me, that was a culmination of about 8 years of hard slog. So for that was like
Your highlight.
yes, I think that was a big highlight for me.
Okay, I just want to read one little quote. We are nearing the end of this panel. It says, "Keep up the good work, ladies. The world needs more strong women to make changes." Absolutely. We salute you two women. Well done. So Fawzia, for the last comment from you, the highlight, obviously you've had lots of hurdles. What's been the highlight? What keeps you going in this very charged career of yours as a politician, as an Afghani woman?
I believe as women become stronger, their challenges and hurdles also become stronger. When you are not impacting, people will not take you serious, either your opponents or your supporters. When you get stronger, you feel more, kind of oppressed, and you feel that you're being attacked from different angles. There were, in comparison to the challenges that I have been, there have been many moments that are the highlight of my political career, from the laws that I was able to pass in the parliament, to the policies, to the, struggling to include, women in certain things, to like allocating gender budgeting. So like a list of many things that were the highlights, but I think when I come home every evening and I'm, finishing a very depressing day, which is not only about work, but as a woman, about you, about your character, about your outlook, about what you do. And when people are not able to challenge your policies or what you do and your leadership, they easily can challenge your outlook, your clothing, your relationship, you're young, you're old, all of that character assassination. So if I come home after that, such a hectic day, I start questioning myself why I am doing this. I receive life-threatening challenges. I have lost my social kind of, my personal, sometimes mental health affected. Why should I do this? The next day when I wake up, I receive calls on my phone. My phone is like a kind of public to everyone. People keep calling. When I received the first call from a woman or a man, but usually from a woman, who asked me to do something for her because she has been a victim of domestic violence. Her husband beaten her to the extent that her face is not recognizable, or from a man who wants another support, and he or she trusts me, and that's why they ask me to support them. These are the highlights of my day and my life. And these are the things that I keep facing every day.
Amazing, sister, amazing. Hats off to you both, absolutely. So we're now at the end of our session today. What can I say? I'm sure my attendees here will join us, my team as well. It's been a riveting discussion. We learned so much and you've been amazing. Absolutely. A lot of learning has taken place. But again, the situation is we need women like you to make a difference. It really does matter. And so thank you so much, Sister Yasmin, for joining us from Bolton. Love to hear more from you. We are local. We will meet again, inshallah. Thank you so much, Sister Fawzia, for your wonderful presence. I know you're extremely busy, but thank you for joining us. It's been absolutely amazing. And one of my team members said, we will have your book as part of MACFEST Book Club book to read. Okay. So now just a reminder to our attendees, we have got another panel tonight, 4 o'clock British time. 4 more amazing women politicians, including Anna Stamu from Greece and 3 of our own. So I'll see you all at 4 o'clock, inshallah, most of you. Thank you to my team. Thank you to everybody else. Good afternoon and good evening, wherever you are, and assalamu alaikum.
Nice to meet everyone as well.
Thank you so much, sisters.